The Lord be with you. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Jesus and the disciples passed through Galilee. He did not want anyone to know it, for he was teaching his disciples, saying to them, "The Son of Man is to be betrayed into human hands, and they will kill him. And 3 days after being killed, he will rise again." But they did not understand what he was saying, but they were afraid to ask him. Then they came to Capernaum, and when he was in the house, Jesus asked them, "What were you arguing about on the way?" But they were silent, for on the way they had argued with one another on who was the greatest. Jesus sat down, called the 12, and said to them, "Whoever wants to be first must be last of all and servant of all." Then he took a little child and put it among them, and taking it in his arms, he said to them, "Whoever welcomes one such child in my name welcomes me, and whoever welcomes me welcomes not me, but the one who sent me." The Gospel of the Lord. Our gospel text today is from Mark chapter 9. And it begins by saying, Jesus was teaching his disciples about the cross. Oftentimes, people wonder how the cross made its way into the life of Christianity. It started from the teaching of Jesus Christ. It is the only teaching that the disciples found very difficult to understand. Jesus taught the disciples about how to pray, taught them the Our Father. They found it easy to understand prayer. But when Jesus introduced the cross as a spiritual journey, because that's what the cross is a spiritual journey. And so Jesus tells them that the Son of Man is going to undertake a spiritual journey. And that this journey is going to be difficult. And so the Son of Man is going to be betrayed and is going to be killed, and on the third day he will rise. So these three realities is what Jesus wants us to understand every time we look at him on the cross. He is going to be betrayed and arrested, and he will go through great suffering, which we call the passion. They're going to scourge him, they're going to deride him, they're going to humiliate him. Now that's the story of our lives, all of us, when we go through life. There are times when we're going to go through difficult time. So every time we look at the cross, we should see the summary of every person's life. And so Jesus calls it the journey to salvation, how he was going to save the world. And then he said the second thing, they are going to kill him. They are going to kill the Son of God. You know, when we do Bible study and we study Mark, there is a theologian called Karana. He calls it the scandal, the greatest scandal. Jesus Christ says the Son of Man is going to be betrayed into human hands. Human hands. Human beings. Human beings will arrest God. They will humiliate God and then kill God. So Karana calls that a scandal. He says it is the biggest shame of the human race that we killed God. So Jesus calls it human hands. Human beings will arrest God. But then 3 days later, after he has been killed by human beings, he will rise again. Then the text continues and it says, but the disciples did not understand. They didn't understand. When Jesus was teaching the Sermon on the Mount, in Matthew chapter 5, blessed are the pure in heart, they understood it. Blessed are the poor in spirit, they understood it. When he taught them their Father, they understood it. But when he was teaching the way of the cross, they did not understand it. And it says they were afraid to ask him. Instead, the disciples they have their focus not on the suffering Messiah, but on going to Jerusalem. Because Jesus keeps saying we're going to Jerusalem. And Jerusalem is a capital city. Jerusalem is the religious headquarters and the political headquarters of Israel. And they were understanding that Jesus was going to go there and seize power. And they will become cabinet ministers. And so Jesus said, he asked them, what were you people discussing on the way when I was teaching you the way of the cross? And they were silent because they were discussing how to share the ministerial portfolios. Who was going to take first minister, second minister, who was going to take all cabinet positions. Because that was what they thought Jesus came to do. When we say Messiah, Messiah means he came to the anointed one who comes to save us. They think he was going to seize power in a coup. But Jesus wanted them and wants us to understand the cross. When we look at the cross and Jesus hanging on the cross, Jesus does not want us to understand anything gory. That's not what it means. Jesus does not want us to understand the historical factor about it. He wants us to see the blood that flowed from on top of the cross. That's what's called the sacrifice, the sacrificial victim. Before Jesus went to the cross, animal blood was used for sacrifice. And animal blood cannot save anybody. So he came down, for God so loved the world, sent his only begotten Son, so that he will offer his life. So Jesus says, greater love has no one than the one who offered his life for his friends. When we bow, we're giving thanks for what he did. And that is what he wants us to do. He says, for us to be able to do that, we have to humble ourselves. You know, anybody who cannot bow who cannot kneel before divinity cannot rise in the glory of God. And so Jesus Christ says, anyone who wants to be a leader must learn to humble themselves. And that is the height of spirituality. People who are very proud cannot pray because they cannot humble themselves before God. So Jesus wants us to see what he went through on the cross, and we offer thanksgiving for him coming to save us. So let us have a new understanding of what the cross means. Let us not be like the disciples who did not understand the cross. And that was why they ran away when it mattered the most, because they didn't understand it. But those who understood it stayed under the cross, because that's where you want to be. Salvation was wrought from on top of the cross. And if you can find yourself under the cross, then you are in the right place.